Hey there, Smite fans. Welcome to the European Wild Card. My name is hi-rez Bart. That is Kret with a Tutta. And we are just moments away from our first game of the day. It's Potato Boys versus Coast. And, well, if you are a normal viewer of the Smite Pro League, you know who Coast is. But Potato Boys coming in from the Challengers in the second position just behind Agilitas. And, well, I'll hand that one over to Kret to tell us a little bit about the Potato Boys and their path to the Pro League.
So if you watch the SWC, you should recognize some of these names because basically there are two players that didn't quite make it to the kickoff. Dirgius, an adapting formerly of I5, who tied with SK and lost the tiebreaker.
Yep.
You've got Proxy QQ, who was kicked off of SK. So a lot of this has to do with SK, apparently. Kicked off of SK after the launch tournament. You have Suntouch, who left Cloud9 after the kickoff LAN. And you've got Arrow, who they just kind of found out of ranked. But he's been doing really well for them. Bans coming out, Aphrodite, Cirquet, and Geb. I think the Afro ban is a little bit unique here.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of variety.
Variety. That's right. Yeah, variety. I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, I am surprised here. Looking at Potato Boys taking a look at Nuwa, I'm a little surprised not to first pick Ra to take that away from variety. That's kind of why you banned the Aphrodite, to put him into a compromised position and try to force out the Chang'e. So now they've left open Ra, and that's definitely going to be picked up here by Coast. There's almost no question in my mind. You're going to see a Ra and maybe a Nemesis or a Zhonghui or some other kind of high-priority ban that gives you a lot of kind of destabilizing presence on the map.
Sure.
And it looks like they're at least going to take a look at the Nemesis.
Yeah, Nemesis is a really nice pick to pick up early on because she's a good jungler at all phases in the game. I mean, obviously no Thanatos in the early game, but once you get your ultimate online, you can definitely help out. Doesn't have great gank, really needs sort of the crowd control to happen in the lane, but when that Divine Judgment comes through, it's so strong. Thor, on the other hand, brings the CC, has that global semi-global presence, and is really strong. Ullr for Suntouch, though, is a little bit strange. Usually we see Rom or Apollo.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're kind of building this burst team.
Okay.
Nuwa, a lot of burst, Thor, a lot of burst, and obviously Ullr, the most burst out of that role.
Yeah.
Or in the kind of range physical DPS role, not necessarily in the hunter role.
Sure.
Not locked in there. We have seen this god go into the soul lane, of course. His melee stance does provide a bit of lifesteal, and you can kind of make it work, although I wouldn't say that it's great. Over on the side of Coast, they're going to pick up a Bacchus to go with their Nemesis and Ra, so obviously there's a lot of synergy there. Setting up the Ra snipes. Another thing we've seen, particularly out of Europe, when they're able to draft this Nemesis-Ra combination, is the Nemesis Fist of the Gods into the Ra ultimate.
Sure.
So look for that coming out of the jungle. That's really where Nemesis kind of shines, it feels like. As the season has progressed, you're seeing that Fist of the Gods really kind of shining, or Wrath. No, it is Fist at that point.
Yeah.
Kind of putting a stun where there wasn't one before. Back in the day when the item was introduced, you saw it being picked up just to have. Now it's kind of been more relegated to gods like Nemesis don't have a stun in their kit, but high mobility. And what she does is she dashes in twice, fists out one character, and Ra will snipe it down. Look for that execution to happen on the side of Coast, and, well, they're going to go ahead and draft on her. They're going to look to be kind of contending some of the bursts from Potato Boys with this on her draft, I think.
Yeah, and I like the on her. Definitely a very good hunter to fight. Great synergy with the Bacchus if you get a little bit old school, but I don't think we've seen the pillar stun off of belly flop really be a big thing recently.
No.
Shibalonki hover, which, I mean, Proxy, because he's kind of the only guy who plays it. The other thing I want to mention is the Athena ban doesn't really make sense to me because Dirgius is so good at Kumba.
Kumba, that's right.
It's just his god.
Yeah, surprised to see Athena ban there, but, like, looking at what the last two draft picks coming out from Potato Boys, like, they wouldn't have banned Shibalonki or Kumba.
Right.
Right, so they probably would have got him anyway. I mean, if you wouldn't have banned the Athena in that spot, it probably would have been something for, I don't know, maybe ban the Kumbas or a spec ban, but you're probably looking to ban out a strong solo laner.
Yeah.
You know, they probably would have banned out like a Chalk in place of that or something like that. But we do have our roster set, ladies and gentlemen, as Carreño locks in the final god in Agni, which will be the mid laner of Team Coast here. And, well, Potato Boys, you know, individually, you look at them and they don't have the same skill level, I think, of Coast.
Sure.
So they're going to be relying on kind of the small game. They have to have perfect execution, and they have to kind of have their game plan work for them. Coast, with a little bit more individual skill, can allow themselves to make a couple of mistakes and maybe still kind of make it out, maybe on some big plays, some Shaggy Shank or Zinder, and both of them very capable players who we've seen turn games. Or on the side of Potato Boys, again, it's like they have to really fire on all cylinders, I feel like, for most of this game if they're going to find the win.
But you did mention it earlier, the high single target burst. You've got the minion explosion on Nuwa. You've got Thor, who's got the double tap, which is insane. Ullr with his 3-1 combo from range. Shibalonki has really good ability burst early on in transitions into just the highest crits out of any hunter. And then Kumbhakarna, people don't really think about this, but Epic Uppercut into the throwback is just massive burst coming out of that support role. So I got to think that's what they're going for, and individual picks.
Now, the only thing that I don't really love about this lineup here that's been drafted by the Potato Boys, specifically I'm looking at Duragis' Kumba. You don't have that ultimate or that ability that really synergizes heavily with the guaranteed setup, right? You don't have that Ra, that Ao Guang, that kind of big burst, or even a Scylla for that matter, right? That's going to synergize really heavily with Epic Uppercut. So it comes down a lot here, I feel like, going back to the idea of perfect execution is required for Potato Boys to win this. They have to have really, really great synergy and communication around when they're going to banish targets with Epic Uppercut, because you can see a lot of damage could potentially, like, if Uller dumps his 3-1 into a banished target, they don't have a lot of burst to follow that up.
I mean, that said, I feel like Duragis is at the point of playing this character where he can sort of bring out the more abstract uses, right?
Okay.
Like, the basic Geb player is just going to shield his bros and cataclysm people, but when you look at a player like Jeff Hinla or Yannick, you use rollout for peel occasionally, and you use it for the slow, and the shockwave can be used to like interrupt specific abilities. There's just more abstract use, so I want to see that out of Duragis, and I think it's just like, this is my comfort pick. Athena was banned, Geb was banned, so I'm just going to play what I know I'm good at instead of trying to reach into something that's a little bit weird. And the other thing to mention is there's actually a back harpy start coming out from the mid laner here, so very interesting start from the Potato Boys.
Yeah, they're going to, as you see here on the left side of the map, Arrow, Sun Touch, and Dirge just going to start off on that small camp. Very, very quick clear, obviously, there. And then they're going to move right into orange. So they're sacrificing their right side mid-camp spawn. There is a ward here as well from Coast, so they know what the deal is, and they should be looking to clean this up shortly. Variety and Zinder are going to go pick up their blue buff here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Zinder leaving this lane. Oh, no, they're going to go straight to lane, and they're going to take the first wave. That's going to give them very early level 2, and I would expect Zinder to rotate over to the mid-camp and take that up with Agni directly following this wave going down.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be a race that mid-camp, but on the other hand, I feel like adapting on Thor is just a little bit more powerful at this level 2, level 3 point.
Absolutely.
So I feel like this is sort of a safe play from the Potato Boys. They want the contest, especially with the blue buff not going down here from Variety, which sort of obliges Zinder to stay on the right side of the map. And currently adapting is just hovering around. On the left-hand lane, you know, there's also going to be a little bit more experience from Potato Boys here.
Well, the Potato Boys, so let's look at the actual experience here. You are looking at about that 1,000 experience advantage on the side of the Potato Boys, given that early start. So, but can they really capitalize off of it? And where is that
actually, Princess
really
Tomato, I think they just
a lot of trouble. Next in-hand's going to do it. Duragis picking up the first blood there for the Potato Boys with their tag Ganja. If you aren't a world traveler, that is Korean for potato. So, you know, they're showing their strength.
I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, that's just the advantage of front-loading this experience. It's not a true experience advantage because they're not getting experience that Coast won't get later.
Right.
They're just front-loading it. And it worked for them, so that's a good play. But if it didn't, then things might have been a little bit different. Returning to base is adapting, currently sitting at level 4. And just picking up his boots rank 1, and then he's going to be able to go to back harpies and pick them up on the respawns, which is clearly something they've been practicing.
Yeah, that's a spot-on timing there. I just see them coming back up right as the timer crosses 2 minutes. Camps will be up for about another minute, at least on the left side, about a minute 30, minute 40 on the right side there. Our lanes have started to break out into what we will be seeing for the rest of the game, and it's going to be a Soul and Xbalanque up against a Ra. And, well, it feels like on paper this is very heavily in Ra's favor. A lot more push, a lot more sustain. But Xbalanque, of course, has real kill potential on the Ra. Chaining together that ultimate with the in-hands. Let's check in with Thor here. You can see his positioning just off the left side of the mid-camp here. Is he leeching experience at this point is kind of the question. Though.
I feel like he's a little too far.
Yeah, I think he's a bit out of range as well.
Yeah, so just sort of hovering and waiting, I guess. Maybe going to try and get some poke off. But adapting just... Okay, he's going to drop a ward on the red. This is an opportunity for contest, but...
Yeah, it's just not going to be there in time. Sun Touch may throw a volley over the wall and not going to find the camp just a bit off of the mark, but they may be looking for a gank here in the jungle. If we get that charge to come out of the minion, nope, no follow-up, not in place is Arrow. So rotating back to the lane are the Potato Boys, but they do have first blood under their belt, at least at this point. And Duragis, well, he's roaming around, making life pretty difficult for Princess Tomato.
Yeah, Duragis is just... he's just being the bigger, beefier, fatter support right now and just zoning out Tomato. And with the Epic Uppercut, there's really good catch potential. It's sort of the opposite of a Rommel. It can give you time to rotate under someone and kill them as they land. That said, no cripple effects on Potato Boys. They do have to have a response for the belly flop or the disperse from on her, or the dash from Agni.
A lot of patience in this game from adapting so far. We haven't seen him really pressure any of the lanes. He's been going for more of this kind of ambush, and you can even see him now just off the left side of the mid lane, trying to shadow Zindern and look for some damage here. But Zindern, being a bit more active, does have the level advantage now, and they're going to be kind of, I think that Zindern must know that adapting is here, must have caught a glimpse of him looking at his positioning. They're just going to rotate over, and now here comes adapting. First amount of damage going to come out, and that's a wall directly into Berserker Barrage. A little bit awkward there. Looking probably for that double tap.
You know, I want to say it's a decision from adapting to give up experience because he's not sharing waves. And so maybe he's just trying to get Arrow ahead or whatever, because usually sharing waves is a good idea because it actually just gives your team more experience on the whole. It's a 50% experience increase, or 47% experience increase. Anyway, mid Harpies will be pulled here. Nice hog coming out, securing those for the Potato Boys on the right-hand side.
Well, where is the XP going is kind of the question, right? You have the first blood in the duo lane, so you see Ullr sitting at the top of that chart, but then Nuwa, she is leading all gods in XP per minute, almost 100 ahead of the Agni. So that little bit of XP the Zindern was leeching away, plus that early camp start, is still being effective on the side of Potato Boys. Nuwa going to be hitting kind of that level 2 ultimate a little bit before everyone else and bringing that global damage.
Yeah, and we'll see how that ends up working out with the Thor, with the Xbalanque. I feel like there's a lot of more abstract global gank pressure. It's not just, you know, sort of like Athena ulting in or Apollo ulting in. It's really just more like having a little bit of control from the Xbalanque, a little bit of damage from the Nuwa, and we'll see how that ends up working. The other thing I want to mention is just Ullr on the left-hand side, as Suntouch does get jumped on, is seeming to do well so far. He's a level ahead of Shaggy Shank on that on her. And we now really want to see Suntouch just leveraging that ability to poke.
Yeah, looking for the poke, looking for the burst to come out here. Wouldn't be surprised to see that jungle rotation over Thor, plus a full Ullr kit going into really either of these characters at this stage, Shaggy Shank especially. Should be a pretty easy kill for them to secure. Surprised to not see the Thor a bit more active. No Anvil of Dawn used yet. And, well, you know, what would be the reason that you would see such a ponderous start out of adapting? I mean, generally by this time you've seen at least an Anvil of Dawn thrown out just for map pressure.
Sure. I want to say he's playing defensively because Potato Boys feel they have the stronger late game. They've got 2 Transcendence Hunters up against 1 Transcendence Hunter. If they can get a Weakening Curse online to deal with the Ra, and they can have their Nuwa playing well and just building pure damage, I feel like their late game can be a little bit better. So maybe it's just Thor being all about the counter ganks, not trying to make stuff happen, but trying to respond as the Potato Boys continue just out-farm and out-gold their opposition.
But with all these Transcendences on the board, you have to look back towards variety to get involved early and often in these fights. With no lifesteal on the board, that heal going to be very important.
Oh, Tomato.
Left side, Princess Tomato just got obliterated there. That Xbalanque ultimate used to keep the team spread out. Now they're going to dive into the backside on the Shaggy Shank, and he's in a lot of trouble as well. His leap comes out. Nuwa ultimate's there, and now he's forced to Desert Fury, but there's nothing cooking. As Suntouch adapting and Dare just pile in. Carino now the one in some trouble. It's going to be a 3rd kill for the Potato Boys coming out, and Zernan maybe the 4th unless he dodges back up.
Wow.
He does not indeed. 4 kills and a double kill coming out there from the boys up Potatoes, and Suntouch going to move forward for Variety, and Proxy Q going to shut off any escape route. This could be another and 5th kill coming out. If nothing else, Proxy's going to put the hurt onto Variety as the Gold Fury gets started up from the Gamja boys, and well, that is a early game split wide open. You can see the branching bolos doing a lot of damage as well. One more in-hand's going to do it, dashing forward now, and with the Berserker Barrage adapting, picks up that kill. A delayed Deicide as well as a Gold Fury. 6 kills in the lead now are the Potato Boys, and they've piled on 6,000 XP and 4,000 gold.
Yeah, that was a 3,000 gold player. They were initially up 900, now they're up 4,000, so absolutely huge amounts of gold coming out from the Potato Boys in that engagement.
Look how many wards they just vomited out as well during that engagement. It was like, if you got them, place them, and you can see how much vision they have on this left side.
And I love that because it removes the ability to be flanked. And the other thing to mention is Nuwa's ultimate is a reveal. So the Potato Boys, I want to say, were glancing at their minimap after that new ultimate was casted, just to be like, okay, who's rotating? Where are they? What needs to happen in the next parts of this engagement?
And you kind of mentioned the transcendences, and we talked a little bit about the lack of lifesteal and what Raw could bring to the table here, but 27 stacks already coming out for the Ullr.
Sure.
Everyone else sitting, under 10 or around 10, 14 for the Onher. Obviously that'll go up as the waves come in, but Xbalanque is out of kind of the danger zone.
Yeah, he is.
He has his, he can clear well enough against the Raw now, doesn't have any damage on his tower, and has items up. Oh my god, another burst coming out. Thor comes rotating into the left side lane. Suntouch forced to leap out, but they should be able to follow someone up. Epic uppercut should set up nicely for the chain stun. And well, there it goes. And Tox get used, but nothing cooking. New wall rotation was in time as well to finish that one up. 8 kills now for the Potato Boys, as Coast seem to have their hands full.
Yeah, I mean, Potato Boys are just everywhere. They're 8-0, 8 minutes in. That's a kill a minute in the middle lane. A little bit of poke coming down onto Arrow. He doesn't really care too much and just trying to keep Carreño on his toes. Rotating over the left-hand side is Zindern, but he can't do too much against this duo lane that's ahead of him in really all counts. I mean, Suntouch is level 12.
He's huge. He's absolutely enormous at this stage in the game. Taking a look at the XP that he's picked up so far in this game, he's sitting at over 740 XPM, which is XP per minute. In fact, 4 members of Potato Boys are sitting in the top 5 gods by XP. So by level, they're way ahead. By minion kills, they're ahead.
Middle lane. Hold on a second. Carreño able to dash out of that wall, but Durgius will find Zindern. And so the pressure is just always on, right? And it's not like ultimate pressure. They're saying, okay, can we catch you out of position without using anything and then commit?
Variety's going to try to snipe into the mid lane there. He's going to miss Durgis. Now he's going to run into Proxy QQ. There's going to be a battle over here on the right side of the mid lane. But Proxy can't commit to this too hard. Too many members of Coast there in the mid lane. And, well, glancing over the net worth here, you're looking at the lowest farm on Potato Boys going the way of Durgis at 5,100 is about 200 gold ahead of the Raw on the side of Coast. Coast needs some objectives to get themselves back into the mix here.
Yeah, and now the question is, how are Potato Boys going to play their lead, right? Like, they need to get a lot of gold, and then they need to start taking towers and getting that map pressure and really controlling the jungler and controlling their opponents. So look for, in the next 3 to 4 minutes, Potato Boys really trying to break that wall of outer towers.
Yeah, you know, the map pressure needs to come out. I think I agree with you there. But I think they're probably going to look for the second Gold Fury respawn here before they really try to flex their muscles. They're only 10 minutes in. They've got a pretty big lead. And the real thing to be concerned about here is not letting adapting slow down. We've seen this a lot, especially out of European play on Thor. Really big early games followed by a little bit of fall off through the mid game, where you look at a character or a player like Garz in the North American scene, it really keeps his farm up, kind of leeching XP away from the lanes and just kind of maintaining his farm rate. In Europe, we see this more kind of what we've seen so far from Adapting, more ponderous style of Thor, where you're really looking to set up plays and you're looking to kind of flex your muscles around the map, but it tends to make you fall behind a bit. What I do like so far is that he is sitting at level 12 and keeping pace at least with his mid laner, solo laner, and the very, very built-up Suntouch, who has definitely come to play today. Let's look into the right side there where Proxy's in a bit of trouble. His dash already used. Here comes Zinder, and Ultimate's going to come out from Shibalanke as well. That's going to slow things down a bit, but not before the snipe comes out from Variety, and that's a kill onto Proxy, the first one of the game for Team Coast.
Yeah, Proxy just caught out no actives, so he did have actually a few wards in his inventory, but it didn't turn out to be enough. Nice rotation coming out from Adapting just to defend this tower here. He's going to show up, Hogs on the creeps, and actually get turned on a little bit, but the wall coming out, Variety tanking the tower, and Adapting with his Anvil of Dawn, or sorry, Mjolnir's Attunement down, is getting very, very low. He's juking, but not going to be enough.
Ultimate from Nuad is enough to clean up Variety, and Zindern falling down as well. In the left side, Duragis combines for a kill on a Shaggy Shank with Mr. Suntouch, and now Potato Boys, they're holding this game tightly, and Coast, you know, they have maybe one more opportunity for an even kind of play here. You know, they have this next Gold Fury to kind of contest this. Hold on, that thought is in the left side, Princess Tomato in a bit of trouble under the tower, but Suntouch is just going to be forced to continue putting in pot shots onto the structure there. As Agni's rotating over, the calls should be coming out, and you see Suntouch rotating back. No position, though, from... Oh, just in time. Yep. No position from the Nemesis to follow that up, though. And
yeah, Nemesis not really in the right place because she did go from the right-hand side, have to recall, rotate back in, so Suntouch was able to be a little bit aggressive. He's currently going to be backing, and looking at the golden hand, only has about 1,000 to spend, so probably just picking up, yeah, can only get ranked 1 in Balance Blade, maybe an active. But 2,200 on Arrow, so definitely saving up, hasn't really built into any starting items unless he wants to move into the CDR from his Lost Artifacts, but hasn't recalled for that yet. Maybe a Tahuti Rush?
That would be...
I feel like they're far enough ahead that it's not crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if he's sitting on 2,000 gold in hand already.
Might as well.
2,300, he only needs a few hundred more. It'll give him a lot of damage. It'll bring him up to about that 300 magical power. Yeah. It'll make those ultimates hurt even more. However, what it doesn't do is kind of give you that control potential that the Chronos Pendant would. But he already has that done. So it hasn't gone back and picked it up yet, which does lead one to believe that it could indeed be that route of Tahuti. Or, I mean, I guess his options are still open for something crazy like a Doom Orb, but you would have expected that to be picked up immediately upon its conclusion.
Exactly.
Left side lane now, forced to push back the wave as Shaggy Shank is on the right side. Proxy did pick up that tower, and that's something that, well, in many respects is kind of unforgivable as a Raw going up against any kind of Hunter style in your solo lane to lose that lane that badly and lose your tower first. Granted, there were some rotations forced out, but what we saw here was just simply the Raw. He got that snipe onto Proxy QQ. Variety, they fell back after that gank, and then never returned to the lane and let Proxy just push it all the way up and take a tower.
Yeah, Proxy was able to get back there sooner than Variety. There was no cover out, so tower goes down, and it's only 500 global gold, but the map pressure is a big deal because now Proxy's like, okay, got my Transcendence online. He's going into lifesteal now, and he's going to be able to rotate a lot more, sitting at level 14, so he should, and in fact does have Poison Darts and Rising Jaguar maxed, and that burst combo at this point in the game is actually going to end up doing a lot of damage.
I'm really surprised that he is not going for the Aussie here over what appears to be a Dev's Gloves or a Blood Force, most likely Dev's Gloves at this stage in the game.
Sure.
Aussie, I feel like, brings a lot here that he could have used. A little bit more attack speed, the pen, the lifesteal. Granted, no damage, but you get a lot of that out of Transcendence.
I think it's just because he's on Xbalanque and he wants to just crit people for 1200, right?
Right.
Like, if you
Max
go
power.
Transcendence and Devo Gloves, and you've got your 2 passive steroids, which is an extra 80, and then you get your Deathbringer, that's already 800, 900 crits, and once he's level 20, that's
I
gonna
suppose
get
that
even.
maybe
Oh,
that I
left-hand
would've-
side though, Princess Tomato, a lot of trouble again. Does have his belly flop available, but he's looking for the opportunity to get it out, and actually just wants to start a fight here. As Durgis will use the epic uppercut. Xbalanque ult coming in, and Suntouch finds a nice stun onto Karinyu, but does not have the combo. Now getting turned on by Zindern, but rooted out will be the Nemesis, forced to dash away, and Thor is now going up.
He's going to look for Princess Tomato here. He can split the team fight fairly well with a nicely placed wall. New ultimate coming down as well. Adapting in a bit of trouble as Zindern's on his back. Likely to fall, but the sun comes out from Arrow. Can they keep Zindern down? It doesn't look like. It's just so fast. Desert Fury coming through as well, doing a lot of damage to the Nuwa. Snipe from Variety. Finds 2 there. Only 1 to go down. Suntouch in a bit of trouble, as is Durgis. And Proxy wants to make his way into this fight, but he's just not going to be able to get the angle. And Coast actually takes a really nice engagement there. That snipe from Variety cleaning up what looked to be a pretty difficult kill onto Arrow. They almost had enough to fall in behind Durgis and Suntouch as well. But they're not going to get much out of this. It's going to be hard for them to push a tower. There is a Xbalanque here that can hold it, and they won't be going for the Gold Fury either. So it's just a few kills going to the side of Coast with no real control out of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, they did recover a nice amount of gold from those kills, but it's what they could get after that would be significant, and they're not feeling like they can go for the Gold Fury, which I find a little bit interesting because on her can pillar block a Gold Fury, right? You put the pillar in front of the bird, you pull it, it gets stuck on the pillar, and that should be an easy and free way to get that going, but I guess they just are respecting Proxy, so not going to go for the risky play.
Yeah, I mean, Hog 3 was up on Princess Tomato, as is the Shell 2. I mean, they had an opportunity there to take that, and well, they're not trying to play risky, it looks like here. They're now going to put some damage out on Durgis in the mid lane, and he's not going to be happy, but he's going to mez out Zindern, and that should be all she wrote for that engagement. And well, I mean, it looks like Potato Boys, they've slowed down just a bit here. Coast finding a little bit of a handhold, or a foothold rather, to get things going, but you know, as the crow flies here, Potato Boys, you know, I feel like if they just start taking the fights to Coast more and more, that they're only hurting themselves in this kind of slowdown period. Left side, in a bit of trouble is Suntouch, and he goes down to a quick Desert Fury from Shaggy Shank. Just caught out. Pillar stun as well to block his ability to get into the jungle. Princess Tomato using a preemptive shell there, knowing that the Thor is looking for that rotation, but no crash coming down on the side of adapting.
Yeah, now a nice 3-man rotation coming out from Coast to secure those left mid camps, but Proxy's going to be able to get the right one. Left tower now being focused down. Thor does not have his ultimate, but he can rotate in. The question is, will it be in time as the wall? It's going to stun out Shaggy Shank. Beads used, and now Durgis has free opportunity to CC as much as he wants. Is knock-up immune during that groggy strike. Nuwa and Xbalanque are rotating over as Suntouch, not respawning for another 10 seconds. This is currently a 4v4 because Karinyu's a little far away, but it looks like Potato Boys are just going to give up that tower. They don't want to take what will become a 5v5, and without their Thor ultimate, that's certainly understandable.
That's right. Adapting's ultimate is down for another 25 seconds, so there's not much that he's going to be able to do to really kind of force this issue. They do have the Nuwa and Xbalanque ultimate kind of pairing together, but that doesn't really do much in terms of CCing a team, right? I mean, you don't have a lot of like follow-up potential. It's pretty easy to game that Xbalanque ultimate to not stun you. And while the Nuwa's just adding some damage on top of it, doesn't force you to move or any kind of shenanigans like that, like a Bacchus Intoxicate would. So they're not able to really close the distance very well, but now Adapting does have his ultimate back up and is on the hunt.
Well, I mean, the other thing to mention about the Xbalanque ultimate is I'd say currently the best use is to use it in a team fight when it's just confusing and chaotic.
Yeah.
Because nobody plays Xbalanque in scrims or in competitive. He's so rare that you kind of don't really know how to deal with that ultimate, and it's something that as a player you have to deal with. I mean, Ra's blind on his 2. Well, Ra's played all the time, so people are like, okay, Ra's here, he's probably going to move a little to his left, I just adjust, and oh, the damage number popped up. But Xbalanque's ultimate, oftentimes players will just be like, I don't know where to go.
Right.
Where is my team?
Yeah, and sometimes you'll get those great opportunities where they'll bunch up or they'll spread depending on what you're looking for. It seems to always work in your favor in those team fights. It requires really strong communication from the enemy team to deal with that in traffic.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have a plan going in. What are we going to do during the Xbalanque? Probably good time for the shell if Princess Tomato wants to use it then. We're basically just waiting for the next big fight here. Who's gonna force it? And currently Coast are positioning around the gold tree, but they're just trying to get a little bit of ward control as they have that sentry on the south side, and they'll immediately give it up and let Dirgius just counter ward freely, which seems a little strange.
Well, looking into the mid lane here, Nuon, a bit of pressure as the rest of Coast is kind of working their way around the mid lane, but did go back for that Chronos Pendant and built into the Soul Reliquary, so potentially going to be a Book of Thoth or a Soul Reaver coming out of the Nuon here.
I don't mind a Thoth at this point. I mean, it seems a little bit late for a stacking item, but the stacks on Thoth are really insignificant in comparison to just the raw magic power it gives you initially. Jumping in is Sun Touch and Dirgius in the mix. We'll find a nice knockback off of his ultimate, and Princess Tomato now a little bit out of position. Thor is up in the air. The Xbalanque ult will stun, as will Thor. Princess Tomato goes down to proxy on the DOT. Dirgius takes the Divine Judgment, but it's not going to hurt him too much, and he's just going to go to sleep on the job, but Carreño can't get in range to get those auto attacks. Dirgius waking up. Snipe comes through, but it doesn't really work.
I guess he doesn't. Did not know. Desert Fury going to be used on Dirgius, but that's not going to be enough as the wall forces Shaggy Shank into a weird position, but Carreño able to come through the backside stab and pick that up. Potato Boys do get a Gold Fury in exchange for their tank, and now the minions are out on Carreño. They're going to pen him down. Shaggy Shank forcibly back over the wall. Potato Boys need to disengage here instead of looking for more poke, and they will indeed, and that's going to give them their 4,000 gold lead. It's been hovering around that. They started to fall back towards Coast, but with that Gold Fury yet again, it's going to put them back to their kind of original lead from about 5 minutes ago. And all things are squared, about 4,000 gold and experience apiece in favor of Potato Boys.
Yeah, Arrow just going to rotate around, get back to his mid tower, and should be able to hold that. Does take some nice poke from Carreño, but unfortunately, Variety of Snipe is already down on the left-hand side. Sun Touch pushes a wave into tower, but can't do much more and will need to recall. Currently, each team has taken a tower. Potato Boys needs to take a little bit more, but in the middle lane, Thor going up, and he could turn this around. Carreño does not have a dash, will get stunned out. There's the Berserker Barrage, and that's going to be the kill for adapting.
Yeah, it's just great bait there. Well, actually, not even bait, really. Just a misplay by Carreño.
Sure.
Trying to get that extra little tick of damage out onto Proxy there to try to clean him up by the Flame Wave after stunning him out. And, well, when your dash is down as Agni, you're pretty much just free to any jungler that cares to rotate over. Here comes that Xbalanque ultimate in traffic movement looking for. Jumping as Princess Tomato, taking to the front line, but he's actually going to stun out two now. Tower does go down to adapting. No one checked him in that fight. Dirgius is going to rotate further into the fight and try to zone out Zindern from being able to counter-initiate onto Proxy Q and adapting that are getting a bit low. And that's going to be a free tower from Potato Boys. Just a couple ultimates used there, and they're able to pick it up.
The other thing I want to mention is it seems a little bit late for Carreño to not have two actives online. I mean, we're hitting the 22-minute mark. This is where the fight's actually Dirgius in the middle lane, taking a lot of damage. Will not be able to go to sleep this time. He's just going to have to respawn as Shaggy Shank finds the kill. And Dirgius just strangely too far forward. I'm not really sure what he was going for there.
No, I mean, I think he was trying to, get his team out, but maybe there's a bit of communication lapse there. They were clearly out of that fight at that point. Suntouch does hit an axe on the Shaggy Shank, trying to save his hunter now. As Princess Tomato is going to take a tower shot for his trouble, and he's blocked in by his own pillar. Proxy Q may try to close this, but he takes a lot of damage there from that raw beam, and no, it's not enough, and now he has just made a horrible play there, honestly, as Proxy tried to do a bit too much for the team. Suntouch will clean up in the backside onto the Bacchus. Shaggy Shank falling as well. But they didn't have to trade their Xbalanque for that one. Adapting going to make a ballsy play as well underneath the tier 2. They do have 3 members now, and they have that ward spotting out the rotation, the attempted rotation from the Agni, and now it's going to be that mid-tower tier 2 push. Adapting, taking a lot of the burst from the Agni, trying to make his way out. Mjolnir's are 2 minutes away. Variety Snipe does miss, and away go the Potato Boys with a tier 2 under their belt.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Suntouch's build as he's walking through the right jungle and not quite getting to see that speed buff respawn, but he couldn't contest it anyway. He's gone into Chin size and is now currently building into an Aussie. Chins and Aussie are 2 items that are very good together because Chins is actually very gold efficient despite how expensive it is in terms of raw auto attack damage, and Aussie is just gold efficient because it's super cheap. So together, he's going to be able to carve through tanks. You usually don't see this on a Hunter, but given the fact that they have a Xbalanque on their team who is the highest critting Hunter in the game, I like the idea to have one go Chins and the other go crit.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised to see the oboe coming out of the Ullr at this stage. Just
Sure.
cap that attack speed out and just be that kind of backline presence that Ullr can be. You have your range stun, and then you just sit there and plink away at everybody, use your poke as well to your advantage.
Yeah.
What it doesn't do, however, is make that poke, without the raw power, the poke not quite as effective, obviously. Really much more of an in-hand build where, in theory, you would have liked to have seen... it's hard to say, right? Because Xbalanque does get such big crits, but a more in-hand-centric build for the Xbalanque perhaps would have made a bit more sense than the more of that raw power build coming out for the Ullr with his superior poke. But, at the end of the day, Xbalanque definitely has some ability damage to his credit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Proxy's just building for the ultra-late game because he feels Coast won't be able to make a recovery until that time hits. And currently with 7,000 gold in favor of Potato Boys, I mean, if Coast wants to recover this game, it's going to be another 20 minutes, unless something crazy happens.
That's right, and when you look at their team, I mean, Agni and Anher being really the forefront of the late game presence. Nemesis obviously brings a lot of utility in the later stages of the game, able to zap away any kind of protections or movement, trying to get out of fights. And Nemesis does take a lot of items, though, to get that carry potential. Has kind of finished off the core, the chin size, the height of the urchin, or rather, chin size and a damage or a defensive item. Let's hold that thought, though. There's a lot of initiations coming out in the mid lane. Durgus does get stunned out, but Carino in a lot of trouble trying to make his way out. The Thor ultimate does miss. They're going to go in on the Princess Tomato and try to keep the tank down. The ultimate from Arrow is enough to pick up Carino. Princess Tomato will fall as well as the Groggy Strike comes through. Going to pin him in place. He's buying a lot of time for himself. Will get a couple stuns out as well. Princess Tomato, but there's the Thor wall, and that's enough. Durgus picks up the kill there for the Potato Boys, and that's a lot of kills, in fact, onto Durgus in this game. 4-2 and 8 for the support, and now with the Bacchus as well as the Agni downs, a lot of their AoE damage, and obviously their Hog 3 off the table. It comes down to a variety snipe as well as some very, very well-placed Desert Fury shots, and Zender snaking his way into the backside, but it's going to be Durgus making his way out. Passive is up. He's not going down quickly, and they wasted a lot of time now. Fire Giant has been reset, however, from the Potato Boys, so Coast finding a way to keep this one in their ballpark.
Yeah, that was an interesting play from Potato Boys. I mean, it looked like they wanted to have 3 people zone while 2 people secure the Gold Fury with 2 ADCs. That makes sense. And then they lost their support and just peeled off the Gold Fury. And I guess they were just respecting the potential steal, but it just seems weird to do that.
Yeah, I mean, with no Hog 3 available there, I mean, maybe they thought Zindern had one, but he does have a fist, not the Raft, so... Yeah, maybe just the lava damage, just respecting that, as well as the knockup potential from the Fire Giant just dealing. But they will give a Gold Fury back in the other direction now as Coast goes ahead and secures that bad boy. And they've dropped that gold lead by about 1,000. Obviously, the experience still hovering around 8K. But it's a little bit of money in their pockets and a little bit of opportunity to build into some mid-game items.
Well, speaking of a little bit of money in their pockets, Arrow currently sitting at 295 magical power, rank 2 of that Tahuti, and it's going to be... Looking at his GPM, it's going to be another 3 minutes or so until that comes online. So at 2900, Arrow gets a huge power spike.
That's right. He'll have the big power spike, as well as you should see the crit start coming out from the Xbalanque, at least in the form of a short sword. He should have about 1,500 more gold by that point. And that's where things get really dangerous in terms of burst potential with this lineup that has been built by Potato Boys. Their early game burst has started to fall off. Obviously, their abilities no longer as effective. Thor, you see that Mjolnir's teammate no longer taking half HP from people, but... the in-hands are really coming online, and you can see just how fast Sun Touch is attacking as well with his passive plus the itemization.
Yeah, and now, I mean, just speaking of the Thor, he's transitioning into more defensive items, does have that Shifter Shield, and now looking at an Urchin. A little bit late for an Urchin, but whatever, it's still 45-45 even without those stacks, which is, if you're trying to itemize for both, which is, it's totally fine. But a big grouping from Coast on this right-hand side. They're just going to try and contest the mid-camps here, as Shaggy Shake did recall and is returning back. Carino still no second active.
There's a lot of pressure here on to Variety in this game.
Yeah.
Carino has built the Spear of the Magus, which is going to, obviously pen the targets that he hits, or remove armor rather, and that's really all for Variety to clean that up. It's Variety and Princess Tomato. They need to bring the magical burst in these fights. It has to be Carino on the front line looking, or kind of the backside of the front line, right? He's looking for those range stuns and getting that passive from the Spear of Magus procced up, and then it comes down to Bacchus and Variety, Princess Tomato and Variety kind of coming together and making sure that these burst damage abilities hit so they can take a couple targets out of the fight, and they're going to have to, because you can see just how much of a pain in the ass Durgus is being, just rotating around in front of the fight. Now Zindern has been caught out a bit, but Nemesis not the easiest target to lock down as Princess Tomato rotates back in. The shell there saving the life of the Goddess of Vengeance. And now Proxy Q going to move to the front line as the Shibalanka ultimate comes out. Sun Touch to follow as well. They're looking for that axe stun, but he does get caught out by the burp. Stun does hit Princess Tomato. Burst coming through. Agni Stun is out on a Sun Touch, and he's in a bit of trouble. Variety does have a snipe, but not going to use it. Nua ultimate going to spot them all out. Princess Tomato not going to be enough to kill there, but Proxy will follow that one up with one good in hand and kill off the Bacchus. And now we may see another attempt at the Fire Giant, as that Hog 3 is down for Team Coast.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. There are still 4 members of Coast, and actually blinking in with the Mez does force out beads onto Shaggy Shank, and they were beads 1, so Shaggy now vulnerable to Zinder and force out on the right-hand side, but Retribution Shield going to be able to keep him up. Retreating back. Oh, nice snipe coming out from Variety. He is just saving the game repeatedly with those snipes.
Those basics from Proxy are hitting for 300 damage right now before critting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is a lot of damage. That means those crits are going to be worth about 750 right now. And he is not done yet. He's not 6-slotted. Executioner is done. Is sitting on about another, let's see, 1,000 or so gold. So that crit's going to come out shortly. Coast thinking about making a play into the Fire Giant here, knowing that most Potato Boys are back, but they're going to realize they don't have enough damage, nor their Hog 3 in range, and they're going to go ahead and call that one off. As the teams kind of rotate back, and you can see, I mean, it kind of all comes down to Fire Giant. Right side of the map is where the fights are coming out.
The other thing I want to mention is Princess Tomato going to a mid-Guardian mail because he has to, right? Like, there are 2 ADCs, and what seems to be happening in these fights is Coast is able to get their carries out, and Potato Boys are like, all right, we'll just kill the Bacchus. Because he's there. He's used his belly flop to peel. So this mid-Guardian mail is actually going to buy a lot of time with the physical protection and with the ability to reduce attack speed. Definitely wants to see a Witchblade soon as well, somewhere.
That's what I'm looking at here, is just being really, really bizarre in this game, is that there's no Witchblades on the table. I mean, normally we're used to seeing 3, 4, 5 of them in a game, and none so far. And you got to think that had, for example, Shibalanke built that instead of the Executioner, this would have been just a complete bloodbath, because the Nemesis wouldn't have been able to do anything to him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of Nemesis, she should definitely have a Witchblade soon.
She should have had one probably as her 4th item.
Instead of Urchin?
Instead of Urchin. Before the Urchin, pick that up and then go Magi's instead.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, there has to be a Witchblade soon because there's just so much auto-attack damage coming out of Potato Boys. And it'll even reduce the damage that Thor is able to deal because it reduces physical power and attack speed.
I mean, the item is just insane.
Yeah.
It's so cost-effective and brings you such survivability against other physical damage dealers as a physical damage dealer that it should be a must-have in basically every build for any kind of in-your-face jungler or late-game hunters that are looking to duel.
Well, and you just go fast. I mean, 50% move
and you go fast. That's right.
It's not even small. Like, it's a lot of movement speed. But, you know, I want to respect the Wingblade coming out from Kumakarna. Durgius here.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because it's going to deal with some of the slows coming out. And Shifting Sands is such a good kiting move that now it's going to be working against Coast.
Yeah, and of course, not to mention the Nemesis Ultimate is basically completely nullified by that item. Obviously, you lose protections, but the run speed, it goes from being a big movement speed slow to a big movement speed burst.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you're just able to reposition off that Nemesis Ultimate. So a really good
attack speed of the Fire Giant here. He's just going ham. Look how fast him and Prox are going to take this thing down.
Yeah.
I mean, those shots are coming about 1.75 a second here. Let's take a look at his actual attack speed. Yeah, it's a 2.03 attacks per second coming out from the Uller.
Well, the other thing to mention, it's about 2 minutes until crit, but Princess Tomato being focused again will be at 50% health now. Arrow on the left-hand side, forced out, but doesn't take too much damage and will use his beads. Durgius in front line. No, it looks like Coast wants to go in, but they don't know where to go, as Adapting's actually pulling the red buff. And this is really important because this red buff can have a big effect in this fight, giving it onto Arrow, putting him at a total of 366 power.
Close to that.
Thor's going up, and this is going to be the start of the real fight.
Shibalanka and Nua ultimate out. They got 3 stacked up, and in comes the Thor. A lot of damage coming out. Carino in a lot of trouble, as is Shaggy Shank. They're going to try to burst down the Agni, but the bombs are too strong. Durgius is going to fall. Arrow does pick up Princess Tomato in the backline, but he's zoned out for long enough. Zinder trying to move forward, but he realizes he's going into 3, 2 of which are ADCs. But here comes a snipe from Rod. Does a lot of damage to all 3. Suntouch going to try to stay relevant. Does get stunned out. Leaping away. Variety's going to try to close the distance. It's going to be a tough snipe for him. Going to put the beam out towards the rotation from the jungle. The fight does end there, but not before 4 die and even 2 for 2 trade, but a hell of a fight. And really great job by Coast to get out of that one, only losing 2.
Yeah. I mean, Coast was just able to turn around what seemed like an absolutely cataclysmic Anvil of Dawn. And the other thing that's interesting, this fight ended with a Shibalanki still on the board, and Ul still on the board, and they're all going to be able to lifesteal up. On the other side for Coast, they've got a Ra, so everyone who finished the fight is just going to be able to chill and heal up and stay in the area so no one can do Fire Giant.
So, looking over at the side of Potato Boys, it looks like it's going to be some Titan Veins coming out. We have maces on 3 characters now. The Thor, the Shibalanki, and the Uller. This means that they are looking for objectives. They're looking for that fast Fire Giant kill. They want to take away all of the armor.
It's kind of interesting that Proxy would buy a mace instead of opting to finish his crit item. He does have that short sword rank 2.
He just didn't have enough gold, I don't think.
I guess so.
Oh, he did. He has 1,000 gold in hand still.
Well, he did just clear a big creep wave, so maybe he didn't have enough. But even then, I feel like you just want to save up for it. But Gold Fury being solo
it's because he wants to solo the Gold Fury. With the Dev's gloves, it helps him out, the Executioner as well. And that little bit of extra pen is just going to make this ever so slightly faster. But maybe most importantly of all, it's the new off. There is a finished Rada Tahuti now on the board and 551 magical power.
That's a 200 magic power boost. That's absolutely incredible. So Arrow's ultimate is now hitting for a very respectable amount. It's
Fire Charge is hitting for 40% of your magical power as well on top of that. So
yeah.
I mean, you're talking an extra 200, 220 damage basically coming out of that ability on top of the 400 base now.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, before Pen, it would be 600 everyone, and that's not insignificant. So Princess Tomato needs to find the right shell in response to that Fire Shards. Otherwise, everyone's just chunked down a little bit lower. And it looks like Titan's Bane has been finished on Proxy, looking to get it on Suntouch 2. He doesn't quite have the golden hand. As Proxy went off, and they're giving so much farm to their Xbalanque over their Uller, which is a really good decision at this point in the game.
Yeah, they have really prioritized Xbalanque getting 6 slotted here, which makes a lot of sense, right? As you mentioned a couple times during the commentary here, he will hit harder than any other character in the game when 6 slotted, and he's built for that type of damage. You've got the Transcendence Dev's Gloves providing, the 2 most physical power outside of that Heartseeker items in the game. Titan's Bane for the pen, Executioner for the additional pen and the attack speed, as well as now what should be a Deathbringer coming out fairly soon from the Xbalanque. Hell, he could even go Rageblade here and just hit for 500 a pop.
Sure, I mean, it's going to be an interesting choice. I think he's going to go for the single crit Deathbringer, but hold on a second. Fight breaking out. Cinder will use the Retribution Shield to turn some stuff around. Princess Tomato pops that shell? No, that's okay, yeah, it was the shell. Looked like a Spirit Robe for a second. So, shell coming out, Magi's used, and just going to be able to disengage. Now, Durgi is looking to see if he can get something, but just going to walk off. Carreño is now out of bombs, and this is a really big opportunity.
Magi's is down. There's no bombs. They know this is the time to go in. They're looking for the initiation. Adapting hasn't gone up yet, but that raw snipe hits 2 for 1,000 damage a pop. Suntouch and Arrow very far into this fight. Arrow forced to ult out now. Princess Tomato dead to rights as ultimate comes through. No, he's going to survive just barely. Thor looking for the dunk. They're in a choke, but he can't go into 5. And somehow Coast has managed to get out of that fight what looked to be just a complete massacre incoming. They disengage there beautifully, and it happens all thanks to that variety snipe that makes basically Suntouch and Arrow fall all the way back and just use their ranged abilities.
Yeah, Adapting forced out a little bit. Durgi is trying to find a position but will not find it. And I think the story of this game for Coast is in Variety's player healing. He actually has the highest number on his team between player damage and player healing. It is his player healing at 22,000.
Wow.
And we don't see a Weakening Curse. We do not see a Divine Rune.
And he has the he does have the AoE movement speed and heal item that comes in the forward of that Heavenly Agility.
Yeah, exactly. So he can even buff his healing up. And really, the Potato Boys need to find some anti-healing at some point because right now they're just kind of getting out-healed.
They're trying to, isolate Durgis here and get some damage out, but they're not going to. Proxy eats a beam on the backside, though, for his trouble. That's a lot of damage out onto that very glass cannon-built Xbalanque.
Yeah.
He is within striking distance very shortly of finishing off his crit, and he's about 1,000 gold, and that'll come in the next about 2.5 minutes for him, assuming Fire Giant doesn't go down in their favor. Durgis at half HP, continuing to try to kind of pressure over here on the right side. Variety takes some damage from Suntouch, and it's a poke war, but Adapting's taken to the sky, and there's going to be a fight breaking out. Xbalanque ultimate should be coming out shortly. They've stacked up just outside, but the shell is right on time. Variety going to be the target, but he's way in the back of this fight. Adapting going to use the Berserker Barrage, but he's taking a lot of bursts as well. Snipe going to be just off the target as Adapting moves forward, but Zindern is here. The wall nicely paced on her, going to try to clean this one up. There's the Desert Fury. Adapting will go down. The ultimate from Nuwa doing a lot of damage in this fight, forcing out the targets on the right side. Princess Tomato to fall, and now trying to heal up in the beam. Moving forward is Suntouch and Proxy. It's a double ADC going up against the Ra and the Nemesis, and they're winning so far. Zindern doing a lot of damage in this fight. Proxy going to try to hold his ground. Bouncing Bola is going to be there. Shaggy Shank misses the pin, and now they're going to try to turn onto him. Where are the follow-up from Proxy? There it is, dashing forward. The darts are going to miss. 1, 2, 3 in hand's going to be required. Misses the second. Here's the third. Needs to hit it. Doesn't matter. Poison's enough. Down goes Shaggy Shank. That's 2 members down now. I'm sorry, 3. Check that. 4 Coast. Potato Boys only losing the Thor and the Uller. They're going to take the tier 2 on the right. If nothing else, Fire Giant available. Durgis likely to start this bad boy up, which makes no sense considering this just means that this is something that you see basically only out of the less tenured teams. Let's talk quickly about what happened here. Durgis starts the Fire Giant, putting in, the big 320 damage or so that combo's going to do across 5 in-hands, and that just means that the lava comes up faster because they take more damage. You would really like to have seen him wait just about 5-10 seconds there for the Xbalanque to start that bad boy up.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is Nuwa, because of her just really high attack speed for a mage and 600 magic power, is actually just hitting for 200 a pop, swinging 1.34 attacks per second, so really big damage there. The only thing I can give Durgius credit for in starting it early is Lava actually does damage to Fire Giant himself. So it can be a very slight effective DPS increase, but that is just maybe in a 1v1.
I mean, like, he's doing so much spread damage to the team.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely grasping for straws there to make that
a good
idea. Xbalanque has finished off his Deathbringer. You have the Obsidian Shard coming up for Nuwa. She just needs to sell off her starting item to get 6 slotted there, and that's going to be real dangerous. Bloodforge is up onto Uller as well. So Lifesteal coming out at the end of the game. He will not be building at a crit at all, though. It'll be a Titan's Bane, Aussie Chins, and Bloodforge on top of that Transcendence for the Uller.
And honestly, I think that's fine because you've got the crits from Xbalanque. That said, I mean, it's only a 20% chance. So Proxy is just sitting there and he's praying. But if he gets the right crit at the right time, his target is just going to die. Does have a red potion as well, so sitting at 472 damage on his auto attacks. Does not have his full passive yet, so still has another 10 physical power to add.
But towers are 300 right now. I mean,
yeah,
they can only let him hit this Phoenix about 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, exactly. and Suntouch is there too, and he's also going to be doing fairly respectable damage to
Fire Giant buff as well, helping out at least on the side of Proxy and Arrow. And here comes the siege onto the tower. Minions cleared out very, very quickly. 1 bomb used there, and Coast holds at least for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Potato Boys are going to have a hard time positioning their ADCs inside that Phoenix line just to let them get the auto attacks. But you do have minions on demand from Arrow. Durgius can tank up the Phoenix a fair amount. Doesn't have a Stone of Gaia, so no real sustain there, but you know, this is not going as well as the Potato Boys would want. Their Fire Giant buff is ticking down. They've got about 2 minutes left, but with the minions on demand, they're just getting cleared too fast.
They are indeed. And, well, here comes a bit of a fight as there's a lot of stuns coming out. Forced out of the fight is Suntouch. Desert Fury does a lot of damage to him. Proxy trying to stay in the front line. He does take the Phoenix, and they just missed him. They just lost him in that engagement. He did so much damage. And now backpedaling is Proxy going to try to get away from Shaggy Shang. Shaggy Shang actually going to push him away with that Impale. Adapting, trying to try to follow that up as well. Now moving away from Mjolnir's attunement and forcing Zinder into an awkward position to try to follow this one up. But it should be able to be chased down by the Nemesis. They should pick up at least one. You need to see the split coming off from Proxy and adapting fairly soon. Mjolnir's attunement comes back offline. Still charging forward to Zinder, but that's going to be it.
Good wall.
Oh, the pillar's there, but is it going to be in time? Variety does have a snipe. Is he going to go for it is the question. There's the beam coming through the wall, and no, indeed, Carino not even going to be able to send out Durgius, and it's a full-on retreat from the Potato Boys. They will likely give up their tier 1 here in the mid. I'm sorry, their tier 2 here in the mid. But no, they're actually going to rally back, and that's going to be that. A great hold by Potato Boys. They take the Phoenix full-on retreat and survive with all their towers intact.
Yeah, I mean, just Thor and Kumba so good at disengage, but Fire Giant buff does only get 1 Phoenix so far. He's got about 50 seconds left on the buff, and the only reason that Phoenix went down is because Xbalanque was able to get lost in the fight with his ultimate, right? So Coast just couldn't keep track of him. He was on the right-hand side of that Phoenix, able to just burst it down in a few auto attacks, probably killing it in about 4 seconds by himself. And I believe Nuwa minions were in the mix to remove those backdoor protections as well. Coaster's still in this. I mean, this is sort of the point where it's like, okay, yes, they're down 13,000 gold, but it's starting to get late enough that some of that gold is just going nowhere into potions and consumables, which, I mean, not really nowhere, but it's not in the item builds.
Right, they're not going to get any more powerful from the items or their levels. They're pretty much capped out, 6-slotted with everything online now. And a Spirit Robe, speaking of coming online, has been picked up by Durgius, and that's just going to make him all the harder to deal with in these fights. On top of an E-staff that he has, he's got tremendous amounts of HP on this Kumbhakarna. Let's actually check in real quick here. 4,200 HP onto the big man on the front lines for the Potato Boys.
Yeah, that's a lot. He does need to sell his Midas boots, though. At this point, doesn't really need that extra GPM, but that's just nitpicking, and they do give him an extra 50 health, so hey, maybe that'll...
Yeah, you know, honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see the tank boots coming out here on Durgius. I mean, that extra crowd control reduction on top of the Spirit Robe, he's going to be basically impossible to lock down.
Well, actually, and the cooldown boots would actually basically cap him. He'd be at 35% because it's 10 on Spirit Robe, 10 on Wingblade, and then 15 on those boots. So
he's got options.
We'll see. Yeah, but either way, I mean, he's just dumping money into wards at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's 1 sentry and 3 standard wards per player, and Potato Boys are buying that every time they recall. Now, Blinking from Durgius removes a lot of Magi's, but not able to do too much damage. Now adapting, diving in, Suntouch and Proxy on the right-hand side, but they're kind of getting bottlenecked. Arrow will secure it with the fire charge. Now adapting, uses beads for the cooldown, able to catch out Zinder, who uses beads in return. He's very low. Suntouch, can he find the hit? And it's with the axe just for style.
Wow.
That's Fire Giant.
What a play there by Suntouch. Great follow-up. And I do want to point out the epic uppercut into Nuwa fire shards killed Agni up in the sky, and he just had a long ragdoll fall back down to earth. Pretty great to see there. Fire Giant, perhaps the Fire Giant that'll win the game here. Princess Tomato turns the corner and do a lot of damage, and the chain CC is there. Suntouch finds that kill with the chin side proc coming through as well. Damage getting rained in on the Fire Giant. Just with his 60 damage per shot. It's Suntouch and Proxy, however, that are doing the bulk of that work, and now they move into the right side.
I love that play on Princess Tomato because he was so body blocked by minions and players and a wall. His only opportunity to get past them was to belly flop, and then he can't easily contest the Fire Giant.
Right. And belly flop, a bit of a long start up there, and he just got chain CC'd out of it, and unable to get to the sky. And look at that, 3 shots apiece from Suntouch and Proxy, and down goes the right side. Phoenix taking the sky now is adapting to just kind of prevent them from having any real contest here. He's actually going to use the Anvil of Dawn onto the Titan. Titan will fall. Potato Boys take down Coast. Well, with a strong hand. I mean, 27-14. This one was their game the entire time. They probably could have won it about 20 minutes earlier with perfect play, but they just steamrolled Coast and didn't really give them any good opportunities to get back into this one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very safe game coming out from the Potato Boys because they were like, all right, we got great late game. Let's get there. And the only thing that really slowed down Potato Boys was just the lack of any anti-healing at all on their team. No Divine Ruin. I would have loved to see a Brawler's Beat Stick in this situation just on one of the Hunters because they could use the pen. And, I mean, there's so much healing.
Right? It would have been a fine option onto adapting instead of the Titan's Bane. He wasn't really adding that much additional damage at that point, right? He did go for 2 defensive items after the boots and Shifter Shield and Jotuns. It could have been that Brawler's just to shut things down, but then again, he doesn't have a great opportunity to just in-hand multiple targets either.
Yeah, exactly.
So probably should have been that Divine Ruin coming out perhaps onto the Nuwa with that global ultimate, but she of course electing for that E-Staff and the big HP and mana pool.
Well, speaking of Nuwa, we do have a replay coming out. Arrow around the Fire Giant, roughly 30 minutes into the game, going up in the air with those fire shards and nuking down as adapting is able to crush in. Now Arrow's making the old school rotation over, will find Princess Tomato here and explode him with the minions.
Yeah, I mean, that realistically, this is the fight where you looked at and you're like, this is just devastation. But this Raw Snipe does a lot of damage, and that's what basically prevents Potato Boys from just winning the game right here with that Snipe coming out. But there you saw Arrow. Nice rotation, nice positioning in that fight, as well as firing off the Nuwa ultimate to get a good idea of where the rest of the team was. That does do it for game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. For Kret, I've been hi-rez Bart. We'll be back with game number 2 shortly here. Much love. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you for... we have 5 more games today, 6 games total, so the second game coming up shortly. We'll see you then. Don't go anywhere. European wildcard action continues in about, let's see. Let's take a look at our watch. Maybe about 5-10 minutes. We'll see you guys then.